has a chance to
The First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, has reiterated that the lives of children are more important than the public's call for the immediate reopening of schools. She made the remarks this afternoon at a media engagement.
Government has refused to open schools simply because we consider the lives of our children more important than even education, because education comes to those who have life. That it is important that people try to understand where Uganda is coming from. I will never forget when I went to Masaka and I found houses closed, or a whole village closed, because people had died. And we can't fail to remember those days.
This follows the release of 48.5 billion shillings to print learning materials for an estimated 15 million learners in the current financial year. Ministry technocrats say the distribution of these materials will commence in 2 weeks' time. On the high level of teenage pregnancies, the First Lady indicated that government's policy has always been that young mothers can return to the classroom after delivering their babies.
But you don't have to go back to the same school. I think what is critical is that you go back to school. In a way, it's actually better to go to a school where you are starting afresh than going back to a school where they know you had problems and probably you get stigmatized.
The outcry that has been in the country to open schools most of the time has been because people say, look at what is happening to the girls. But how can we really make schools the safe haven for the children who have families? Really, what is happening to our families?
Earlier, the minister announced that the Belgian government had donated 551,200 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Preparations are ongoing to allow Belgium to also donate 100,000 doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines.
We are very proud that we can help this country to achieve the vaccination of everybody in the schools, in primary, in secondary, and in higher education.
His Excellency Rudi Vitreiten, the Belgian ambassador to Uganda, made a case for the immediate reopening of international schools whose term began last month. However, the minister was adamant that international schools would reopen at the same time as local schools in January next year.
Some of my colleagues and many other colleagues, also other ambassadors, other diplomats, other international staff, and Ugandan families who sent their kids to international school. So if they cannot go now, before the end of the year, then they miss half a year, and the year is cut in two.
How will we explain that to our own community? And there is that misunderstanding already anyway, that we will open international schools, but we won't open our own schools. And that's very difficult to explain, because we must work by the same principles.
Enabel, the implementing agency of the Belgian government, expressed willingness to support government's efforts to sensitize the public about the vaccines.
So we will be able to finance with that 35 radio spots nationwide, 5 television spots nationwide, and at least 100,000 leaflets with questions and answers also for the different teachers.
On the 20 billion shillings donated by the president to private teachers, ministry technocrats say that 2-year delay in releasing the money to the intended beneficiaries could be blamed on the lack of consensus in the Uganda National Private Teachers Association. Gillian Nantume, NTV, Weekend Edition.